every night. At midnight, the Palomino stallion Oro lifts his head and stares into the dark loft above the stable. His ears are erect, his gaze unbroken. He never makes a sound. His owner, millionaire Gregory Whitfield, has watched this ritual for 14 years. Tonight, he's holding a fan of $100 bills, $1 million. A reward for anyone who can tell him what the horse sees every single night.
3 men have climbed that ladder, boss, and everyone came back empty-handed.
Then I'll find a 4th. There has to be something up there, Darren. He's not staring at nothing.
Nearby, Marisol, the cleaning woman, stops sweeping. She's heard the millionaire's obsession before.
$1 million. More than Mama makes in a lifetime. I could climb that ladder.
I'll give this entire stack to whoever solves this. No questions asked.
And from her hiding spot, 8-year-old Amelia heard every word.
I don't care if they call me crazy, Darren. That horse knows something, and I will pay anything to find out what.
Boss, the men have families. They won't go up there again. Something about that loft makes them turn pale.
He was right. Over the past week, Gregory had sent 3 men into that loft, each one convinced he could solve the mystery. But every man descended with empty hands and a look of unease, refusing to speak of what they'd sensed up there in the dark.
Then I'll find someone without fear. Someone who doesn't listen to superstition.
They were all grown men, but I am light and I am quiet. I could see what they missed. Mama, let me try. I am small. I can fit where the men couldn't. Please, let me do it.
Marisol felt her heart clench. She had cleaned the stable for years and never once set foot in that loft.
Absolutely not, Amelia. There is something wrong up there. You will not go anywhere near that ladder. Do you hear me?
She's wrong. I can find what the horse sees, and I will, no matter what she says.
Mr. Whitfield, my daughter wants to speak with you. She's been watching the horse, and she thinks she can help.
A girl? This is no place for a child. The men came back shaken. You'd send your daughter into that darkness?
I am not afraid. I am smaller than the men. I can go places they couldn't reach. I'll find out what your horse sees.
She doesn't flinch. How old are you, child?
8. But age doesn't matter. You want answers, and I can get them. Just give me that flashlight.
Gregory stared at her for a long moment, then pulled his own powerful flashlight from his belt and held it out.
If you are set on this, take it. But you come down the second you feel anything wrong. Promise me.
I promise.
Amelia's fingers closed around the cold metal. Marisol's face was pale, but she did not stop her. Behind them, the lantern above the loft flickered. The whole stable seemed to hold its breath. She clicked on the flashlight, its beam cutting a bright path to the ladder. Without a backward glance, she started to climb.
She's never climbed anything that high. Her hands are so small.
Rung by rung, the pink jacket rose higher, the stable's shadows swallowing her small body.
Keep that light steady, child, and remember your promise.
The wood creaked beneath her weight. She didn't look down. She didn't dare.
From the floor, Marisol clutched Darren's arm without realizing it. Darren's face was tight.
I am okay, Mama. I can see the hatch.
She reached the top, her fingers curling over the edge of the loft opening. With a grunt, she pulled herself up and vanished into the darkness above. For a long, terrible moment, there was only silence, her small light swallowed by the black hole of the loft. The darkness was absolute. Amelia crawled on hands and knees, her flashlight carving a trembling path through cobwebs and old hay. Then a sound stopped her cold, a soft, rhythmic tapping like footsteps on old wood. Tap, tap, tap.
It's coming from the far corner, the exact spot Oro stares at every night.
She crawled toward the noise, her small hands testing each board. One plank near the wall shifted under her weight. She pried at the edge with her nails. The wood was rotted, splintering as she pulled, and then it came free. In the hollow beneath, nestled in decades of dust, sat a small tin chest. She lifted it out carefully. The metal was cold, the clasp rusted shut.
This is it. This is what the horse has been waiting for. I have to get it downstairs.
The tapping had stopped the moment she lifted the chest, as if the barn itself knew the secret was no longer hidden. Clutching the chest to her chest, Amelia turned and began crawling back toward the square of dim light that marked the hatch. She emerged from the hatch, the tin chest tucked under one arm, her flashlight dangling. The descent was slow, but she never called for help. The moment her feet touched the stable floor, Marisol rushed forward and pulled her into a fierce embrace.
You found something. Let me see it.
They placed the chest on a hay bale. Amelia worked the rusty clasp with both thumbs until it cracked open with a groan. Inside lay a small leather diary, its cover stamped with a faded 1968, a curled photograph, and a yellowed birth certificate. Amelia held up the photograph. A young girl, maybe 9, with dark waves, stood with her arm around a small boy in a cowboy hat.
That boy is me. And the girl, that's my sister Elizabeth. They told me she drowned when she was 6, but this diary has her name on it. Elizabeth's diary, private. She wrote this here, in this barn.
Marisol's gaze fell to the birth certificate, still lying in the chest. Her hand hovered, but she did not yet unfold it. The stable was deathly quiet. Only Oro shifted in his stall, his hooves scraping against the floor. Gregory sat heavily on a hay bale, the diary open in his lap. The others gathered close, drawn by the child's words.
He read aloud, his voice thin. Papa came home late and broke the kitchen table. Mama told me to run. He continued, slowly. I am writing this in the loft. It's dark, but I am safe here. I don't want to go back to the house.
His voice broke on the last word. Marisol stepped closer, her face pale as old bone.
He turned a brittle page. I am going to run away, far away. Maybe then Papa won't hurt us anymore.
He closed the diary abruptly, pressing a hand to his forehead. The stable was silent except for his ragged breathing.
He picked up the photograph with trembling fingers. This was taken the summer before she vanished. I remember that day perfectly.
Marisol saw the truth dawning in his eyes, the realization that his sister hadn't drowned, but had fled from something monstrous.
She didn't drown, did she? She was hiding from him. Our father.
The words hung in the air, unanswered. A long, low whinny rose from Oro's stall, as if the horse himself knew the silence was a lie. He found the page. The ink was faded, but the child's terror was fresh as yesterday. He began to read, his voice barely a whisper.
I was in the loft when he killed her. Papa hit Mama with a shovel, and she never moved again. I saw everything. I saw him hide her in the ground behind the barn. I am so scared, diary.
In the collective imagination, a phantom played. A small girl crouched in hay, a shovel's arc frozen in the dark.
He turned the brittle page. I will run tonight to Mexico. Goodbye, little brother. The diary stopped there.
The diary slipped from Gregory's fingers and landed open on the straw, its pages facing up, as if demanding the final truth be read.
He whispered, my father killed my mother. Elizabeth saw it. This is not a mystery. It's a crime scene.
Marisol's tears fell silently. Amelia took her mother's hand, understanding that the horse had been right all along. Oro had not been watching nothing. He had been watching the memory of a murder. The stable was no longer a stables. It was a graveyard of secrets that refused to stay buried. After a long silence, Gregory reached down and opened the diary to the final entry, as if asking the book for one more sentence.
She didn't just say goodbye. I've packed some bread and cheese. I'll take the road south, not the river, so they can't follow. I'll never come back. Then, blank pages.
He closed the diary gently. The book had given all it had, and now they had to find the end of the story themselves. Marisol's fingers found the birth certificate, still folded. She lifted it out, hands unsteady. She unfolded the yellowed paper. Her eyes moved across the words, and she stumbled back a step.
Number? No es posible. This can't.
Mama, what is it? Let me see.
Gregory took the paper from Marisol's trembling hand. His eyes found the mother's name first, then the child's. He stared at the certificate. The mother's name was impossible. The child's name made his world collapse without a sound. For a long moment, no one spoke. The stable held its breath, waiting for the truth that would shatter everything.
Mother's name, Elizabeth Whitfield. Child's name, Marisol Elena. This certificate says I am her daughter.
Marisol Elena. That means you are my blood. Elizabeth's child, my niece. And Amelia, she is my grandniece. You have been cleaning my stables for years, and I never knew.
You are my great uncle. Then, the horse has been watching for your sister all this time. For my grandmother.
The truth cracked open. The tapping sound, the settling beams, had mimicked the rhythm of a 9-year-old girl's footsteps, fleeing beneath the very roof where Oro stood sentinel.
14 years. That horse has been telling me she escaped, and I didn't listen until now.
Oro whickered softly, a sound that seemed to carry 50 years of waiting. The million-dollar question was answered, but the answer only raised a heavier one. What do you do when your fortune is built on a lie?
I owe you more than money. I owe you a lifetime of truth.
Marisol could not speak. She pulled Amelia tighter, and for the first time, the family of strangers stood together in the gathering dark. Gregory slumped onto the hay bale, his head falling into his hands. The weight of 50 years seemed to press him into the straw.
My whole life, I believed my father was a broken widower. I mourned a drowning that never happened.
I was told my mother died in childbirth. They said there was no family left. I grew up in an orphanage in Juarez, believing I was nobody's child.
He lied to us both. He buried her twice. Once in the ground, once in our memories.
But she did run. She didn't die. She made it. And she had Mama. That means she won.
From his stall, Oro let out a long, low whinny, not of distress, but of something like recognition. The horse had never stopped listening.
He knew the truth when none of us did. He's been waiting for us to catch up.
Marisol reached out and touched Gregory's shoulder. It was the first time she had ever done so, and he flinched before his hand covered hers. Above them, the old beams settled again with a soft tapping. No longer a ghost, but simply the sound of a barn that had held its secret too long. The three of them, 4, counting Oro, stood wrapped in a silence that was no longer heavy, but waiting, ready to be filled with something new.
Great Uncle Gregory, what does it mean now? What happens to us?
It means everything I own was bought with my mother's blood. This ranch, these boots, all of it comes from a lie. My father killed her and built this life on her grave. I never questioned it. Not once.
The stable creaked around them, the same rhythmic tapping that had drawn Oro's attention for 14 years. The barn itself demanded an answer. Gregory lifted the stack of bills from the hay. The fortune felt like a curse in his hands. Amelia didn't reach for it. She just watched him, her large eyes steady.
I promised this money to whoever solved the mystery. You did that, Amelia. You did what no one else could.
But he didn't extend his hand. The decision hung in the air, unfinished, as the tapping grew louder. He stared at the cash, then at the diary, then at the girl who had climbed into the darkness for him. Above them, the old beams settled again. The choice was his alone. Gregory knelt in front of Amelia, the cash trembling in his grip. Then he pressed it firmly into her small hands.
"The $1 million is yours, Amelia. You earned it, but you gave me more than the answer. You gave me back my sister's truth."
For us? All of this?
All of it. And not just the money. Darren, draw up the papers to sell the entire ranch. Every acre, every building. Proceeds go to Marisol and Amelia.
The whole ranch, boss? You built this place. Are you sure?
I've never been more sure of anything. This ranch was never mine. It belongs to Elizabeth's daughter.
Gregory, no, we can't take everything. This is too much.
You can, and you will. It's not a gift, it's restitution. Let me do one right thing in my life, please.
Amelia clutched the money to her chest, tears mixing with disbelief. Her mother had no more words. Darren walked toward the office, his heavy boots echoing through the stable. The decision that would change everything was already in motion.
Great Uncle Gregory, what about Oro? He can't be sold like the land. He saw everything. He kept the secret.
He won't be sold, Amelia. Oro belongs with you and your mother. He's the only one who never forgot Elizabeth.
He's the reason we're here. If not for him, we might never have known. He's family now.
Take him with you. Give him a green pasture where he can run and never stare at a dark loft again.
Oro stepped forward, his golden coat catching the lantern light. He nuzzled Amelia's small hand with a gentleness that brought fresh tears. Amelia laughed softly, a sound that had been absent. "We'll take care of you forever," she whispered. Gregory watched them, his own grief lightening. The horse had carried the truth for 50 years, and now he would carry hope. Marisol placed her hand on Oro's neck, a silent vow passing between them. The stable no longer felt haunted. It felt hallowed. The lantern burned brighter, chasing the shadows from the corners. Oro lowered his head one last time, then turned toward the open stable door.
Thank you, Oro, for remembering.
Within hours, word of the diary and the $1 million reward escaped the ranch. Reporters arrived, their cameras capturing the weathered barn that had held a secret for 50 years.
My father killed my mother. My sister survived, and an 8-year-old girl found the diary that proved it. I built my life on a lie. I've sold the ranch. Every penny goes to my niece, Marisol, and her daughter, Amelia. The Whitfield name is done.
Behind him, Marisol stood with Amelia, the child's hand clutching the diary. A photographer's flash caught the girl's face, scared but unflinching. The next morning, the photo was everywhere. The headline blazed across the nation: "Whitfield heir reveals murder secret. Horse knew all along." Amelia's name was captured in print, linked forever to the girl who climbed into darkness and returned with a ghost's confession. Public reaction was a storm: shock, sympathy, and anger at a dead man. Gregory's statement became a national sensation, his surrender of wealth praised and condemned in equal measure.
They can say what they want. I am not that man anymore. I am just a brother who finally heard his sister's voice.
Marisol placed the birth certificate next to the diary in a lawyer's office. The legal transfer of the ranch began that very afternoon. The world now knew the Whitfield's secret, but the deeper journey of healing and of memory had only just begun. In the quiet of a small sitting room, away from the cameras and the headlines, Gregory sat across from Marisol and Amelia, the diary on the table between them.
This diary doesn't belong to me. It belongs to Elizabeth's daughter and granddaughter. I am just giving it back.
He placed it in Marisol's palms, his fingers lingering on the worn cover, as if saying goodbye to his sister all over again.
We can't let her words die again. The world should know her story. The real story, not the lie they told for 50 years.
I could help, Mama. I want to be a writer, like Elizabeth was. I want people to remember her forever.
She would be so proud of you, Amelia. She wrote so someone would listen one day. You will make sure they do.
Marisol opened the diary to the first page, and Amelia leaned close, tracing the faded scrawl of a 9-year-old girl who had been gone but never forgotten.
Look, Mama. She drew a little horse here. Oro, maybe? She loved him even then, before everything happened.
The three of them sat together, the diary now a bridge between generations, the promise of a book beginning to form in the quiet room.
Write it, Amelia. Finish what Elizabeth started. I'll be here to help, whatever you need.
Months passed, and the memoir titled The Loft Witness was born. Amelia's name sat on the cover beside Marisol's, the diary's scrawl now bound in print. At the first signing event, a line stretched out the bookstore door, and inside, Amelia sat behind a stack of books, her pink jacket replaced with a simple cardigan, but her eyes just as determined. Gregory stood at the back, leaning against a bookshelf, watching the girl who had climbed his ladder and rewritten his entire history.
He didn't approach. He didn't need to. This was their moment.
A young boy stepped up to the table, holding the memoir, and asked why the horse kept looking up every night.
The horse saw a secret the rest of us forgot. He remembered a little girl who ran away, and he waited for us to find her again.
The boy nodded, understanding that Oro had never been staring at nothing. He had been remembering. By evening, the stack of books was gone. Marisol hugged Amelia, tears on her cheeks. The diary had become a bridge, and the world was crossing it. Gregory slipped out the back door, but not before his eyes met Amelia's across the room. A quiet nod passed between them, solidifying the new family. The book sold widely, but the deepest closure was still to come. He traveled alone to a small cemetery in Mexico, where the stone read a name the world had forgotten: Elena Fuentes. He knelt and placed a single white rose on the sun-bleached earth. His fingers traced the letters as if touching her hand.
He opened the diary to the final entry. His voice was steady, the words carrying across the silent graves. I've packed some bread and cheese. I'll take the road south, not the river, so they can't follow. I'll never come back. He closed the book and looked at the stone. I know the truth now. Marisol and Amelia are safe. Elizabeth, you did it. I forgive you, little sister, for running away. I forgive myself for not knowing. I will carry you now.
For the first time in 50 years, the weight on his chest lifted. The guilt he had not known he carried simply left. A warm breeze stirred the white rose. In the rustle of leaves, he could almost hear her voice saying, I am free. He stayed until the sun sank behind the hills, then rose and walked away, his steps lighter than they had been in decades. The diary remained with him, but its last entry now rested where it always belonged, with Elizabeth. Gregory parked his rental car outside the modest house, its fresh paint gleaming in the afternoon sun. He walked up the path without hesitation.
Gregory, you came home. I was worried you might drive straight back to the old ranch.
The old ranch is sold. This is where I belong now, if you'll have me.
Of course. Mama made tamales. And I have to show you something. Come inside.
The dining table was simple but abundant. Over tamales, they laughed for the first time in decades. Real, unguarded laughter that made the windows shake.
Wait here. She raced upstairs and returned with a bright red journal, holding it out like a trophy. Read the first page. It's about Oro and Elizabeth. Like she was my grandmother. So I am telling her story too.
Marisol returned with a small framed photograph. the same one from the chest, now in a simple wooden frame. She placed it in his hands.
This belongs in your home, too. Elizabeth deserves to be in both our houses. She's our bridge.
He couldn't speak, so he simply opened his arms, and Marisol and Amelia fell into them. The three stood in the front yard, holding on like a family that had finally found its way home. Weeks melted into months. Upstairs in the new house, by a window overlooking green pasture, Amelia sat at a small wooden desk.
Elizabeth wrote in a dark loft. I write in sunlight, but we both write to be heard.
Her red journal was already a third full. Stories of horses, of grandmothers, of secrets that turn into bridges. Outside the window, the old Palomino Oro grazed, his coat golden in the afternoon light. Beside him, a leggy foal nursed contentedly. The foal was his, a surprise born after the move, as if life itself had decided to multiply the hope. Oro no longer stared at any loft. His ears flicked lazily, and his long vigil was over.
Mama says the foal should be named Promise, because that's what Elizabeth kept.
The house settled around her with a normal creak, wood expanding in the warmth. No ghost, no tapping, just home. Downstairs, the front door opened, and Gregory's voice called, "Amelia, I brought the new chapters to read."
She closed the journal and smiled. Elizabeth's story had become hers, and she would keep writing.
In the new house, on a small wooden pedestal, Elizabeth's original diary rested beneath a glass dome, its cover stamped with the fading year 1968. The book lay open to the last page, where a younger Elizabeth had scribbled her final quiet request, preserved for the world to see.
May someone remember. That was the last thing she wrote, and we have remembered.
The line was not a goodbye. It was a hope, a wish that had waited 5 decades to be granted. The glass dome caught the morning light, casting a small prism of color on the wall, where Elizabeth's photograph hung. Every day, someone stopped to read it, and the memory of the girl in the loft lived on.
You are not forgotten, Grandmother. I will write your story until the last star burns out.
The camera held on the scrawled words, the ink now as permanent as the truth. Then, slowly, the image faded to white. The diary had spoken, the horse had remembered, and the family was whole. Far from the old barn, a golden field stretched to the horizon under a setting sun. Oro grazed quietly, the foal at his flank. Then the horse raised his great head. He turned and looked east toward the faint silhouette of a ranch on a distant hill. One long, silent moment. The stallion's eye caught the last light, holding the memory of a dark loft and a child's footsteps. Then he swung his neck away, turning his back on the past. He nickered softly, a sound no longer haunted, but free. The leggy foal lifted its head and trotted toward him, its small tail flicking in the warm air. Together, they turned and began to trot, side by side, into the golden distance. The stallion had kept his vigil for 14 years. Finally, he could rest. The tapping had stopped forever. Only the wind and the quiet rhythm of hooves remained, and in that field, under a forgiving sky, the horse that remembered finally forgot, fade to black.